everyone, Violet here, and today we're going to continue our journey through Esoteric Foundations. And we have actually been working on a number of exercises, layering them up. They are the 6 essential exercises, and we are on number 5. So if you want to start from the beginning with that, you can see I'll leave a link down below to where you can start from the beginning. Today we're going to talk about approaching things with an open mind. This is something that I've found to be incredibly important throughout my life, because anything really that has been extremely meaningful in my development, I had to let something die before. It's like, what is that saying about you die 1,000 deaths before you die, or something like that, where it's like you have to be willing at any moment to release some kind of previously held thought or belief in order to embrace something that is true. And this is not about believing, everything that's coming in. Just like in the previous 2 exercises, this is about the way, we're kind of, living moment to moment and striving towards holding this as a possibility moment to moment, being, open-minded and being willing to kind of see something completely new. So in terms of getting to know the spiritual world and entering into those realms, and yes, we're going to do so with discernment, but you have to be open to seeing and understanding things you never thought were possible before. Especially since our current trajectory is that we've already descended into deep matter and also forgetfulness, and we're now going to be on this sort of upswing of rising back into spiritual matters, spirituality, and we will be learning and relearning and encountering things new and forging new paths and stuff. So this is a really important way to orient ourselves. You can also look at this in a very practical way just in life, in terms of always having hope and openness for something new or something better to come in, and not to judge every step forward into the future by anything that's happened in the past. This is a way also to kind of, step away and be able to transform and move onwards from things like trauma that might, remain in your body and make you think that something is going to happen again, or that sort of a thing. It's important to learn the lessons that we need to learn, but also to maintain hope and openness to change and actual possibilities, because that's what keeps us going. So even that alone, if that's all that you take from this video, I think that is a very transformative way to live your life. There's also something very humbling about this, about breaking down kind of, if you think of the tower and the tarot, things that you have built up, pride or kind of systems of belief or whatever it is that, perhaps it served you well, or it's, we've built it up over time, but the willingness to release that at any given moment if you're encountered with truth. I'm sure you can think of so many things in the world that if only people would be willing to kind of release what it was that they thought or what it was that they invested themselves into in order to see something in this new way, what wonderful change could come from that. So it's important not to just kind of look outwards and have judgment towards that, but also with ourselves say, okay, what is it that I've taken in and I've held on to be true? And if it's true, it'll remain, so being willing to let things go that perhaps aren't. So by doing this, you begin to develop a certain feeling. I'm just going to read straight out of this book. This is the book. Soul Exercises, Word and Symbol Meditations. But this is here at the very beginning, before you even dive into the rest of the meditations and practices in this book. This is what's important, is to develop these exercises. So this is a certain feeling that I'm, still working towards feeling what that is and what that feels like. And so I think that this is interesting, and I don't entirely understand all of it yet, and that is why I'm just going to read it to you straight out of this book. It says, If, in the 5th month, you pay attention to developing this attitude, you will notice a feeling slipping into you as though something comes alive, something stirs in the space we spoke of in relation to this exercise of month 4. This feeling is extraordinarily subtle and delicate. It's immediately making me think of like the possibility, the life, the hope that's like something that would move, that would stir within you. You must try to attentively grasp this subtle resonance in your surroundings and let it stream through all 5 senses, especially through eyes, ears, and skin, inasmuch as the latter contains the sense of warmth. Okay, so I suppose it's saying you feel it in your senses just the same way you feel, warmth throughout your body. That's what I'm interpreting it as. Then it says, at this stage of esoteric development, one should pay less attention to impressions stirring in the lower senses of taste, smell, and touch. At this stage, it is not yet really possible to distinguish the numerous bad influences mixed up with good ones in this domain, and therefore the pupil should leave this for a later stage. I guess my understanding of this is that, we're moving more towards the spiritual and kind of releasing our attachments to the material. So if you think of this as like the chakra system, like the lower chakras, there's like a lot of shadow and a lot of pain and things like existing within the lower chakras, but there's good too. But at this point in development, it might be hard to kind of like distinguish those things. So in focusing on our, connection upwards and with spirit, like that is important. It's interesting talking about the chakras too. This was actually something that came through to me at one point. I even, I write little spiritual messages and things inspired by nature to my, membership platforms. And at one point, someone might be able to find this and say when it was, I saw a sort of like a cloud that looked like a snake kind of going downwards in the sky. And I had this thought like, oh, you always hear about working with the chakras, like from the bottom up, but what if you worked from the top down? And it's fascinating because as I've been working with Steiner and anthroposophy and some of these more like Western practices, that actually is something that he says is working with the chakra system kind of like that, from the top down. So I'll throw that out there because I think that's pretty interesting. And that passage made me think about that. So once again, with this exercise, we're really thinking about freeing your expectations and perhaps taking a moment each day to tune into those sensations and send them through your senses in the way that it describes. So let me know what you think about all of this, and I will see you in the next video.